today with William Byron, driver of the number 24 Exalta Prime Line Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions. We'll come right over here to the left to Stephen.
Stephen Hawkins with the AP. With Gibbs and Penske, obviously won all the races this year. Do you feel like this is the kind of track where somebody else can break through?
I hope so. I think our practice session was pretty good, but obviously those guys have done the best job in kind of managing the races, having the most speed. So I'm not really sure. I mean, I think it's I think this race will be, if it stays cloudy through the weekend, it'll be the most pack racing I think we've seen. So I think the cars are pretty easy to drive relative to that practice session. So we'll see what happens. I feel like the other tracks, the cars were harder to drive and more separation between cars. So maybe that enables some other guys to be in the show.
I mean, clearly you haven't been with this team the whole time, but this team's had a lot of success here. Does that get talked about? Is that sensed, or has there been so many changes to this track that has changed because of that?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of changes to the track. I think we finished top 10 here in the spring, but really there's been so many changes going on. I don't think you can really look too much at past success, and especially with the new package. It's a way different beast that we have here. So the track's been, very different the last couple of years with the repave, and I think with the compound that's in the second and third lane this year, hopefully it widens out, which I think it will, which will produce a different race for sure.
We'll go over here to Jerry.
Jerry Farrelly, Dallas Morning News. William, you just mentioned the traction compound. In your time on the track today, did it make any impact, or could you tell it made any sort of difference as you were out there?
Yeah, I think it was actually slicker. What we've seen with when they put that stuff down is usually it takes a little bit of heat and guys to run over that for it to actually activate and work. So, I had a pretty big moment at the end of practice trying to, I guess I put my right sides in it, and it wasn't really very grippy. So I think it takes a little bit of time for that stuff to, I kind of acclimate to the track and for us to be able to run in it to make it work. So I think by, after the truck race, you'll see, I guess, the groove widen out in that race probably. And then once we get to practicing, we should have it pretty widened out.
Are there any other questions for William? We'll come down here to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. After the West Coast swing, it had Atlanta, Vegas, and Auto Club, so you guys started to get experience what this package like on the bigger tracks. What did you feel like you guys were with your team or even the organization? You were feeling you were lacking the most, and I know it's only a qualifying session. Do you feel like some of that has been gained, or is it still too soon to kind of really start to see any of the gains that you guys are searching for?
Yeah, I think it's I would say it's too soon to really see. We got to get out there and in race practice and kind of see if those issues are improved. But I think we kind of know where we're lacking, and there's a lot of progress being made over this week to improve that. So I wouldn't say anything we have is really the same as what it was on the West Coast. With what we're working with. So I'm interested to see how that works. We showed some speed in qualifying in the previous races, so I think that's just a credit to the guys working on, trimming the cars out and getting them fast for Fridays. And then, ultimately Saturday and Sunday are a lot different with this package, so we'll see what happens.
Any final questions? Come over here to the left.
James Harris with Race Week. William, if you could talk about being a young driver, obviously talented, good equipment, but it takes a lot of patience to go from that level of having that dreaded potential word to being to where you want to be at the top with those guys who've had to pay their dues, like Logano, like Martin Truex Jr. and Kevin Harvick. Just talk about what that's like from your perspective as a young driver to have to be patient and pay those dues to get to the top.
Yeah, I mean, I think patience is more of a thing that goes on during the midweeks and trying to just process what went on and get to the next week. I obviously lean on my teammates for advice and what they're doing, and with Jimmy having as much experience as he does, trying to lean on him with what he's been through. So I think really I just look towards my teammates to kind of figure out how I can make those improvements, and then obviously those guys are the most successful in the sport right now, so trying to get to that point is an obvious goal. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say patience is really the word, but just trying to make small gains and incremental gains for where we are to improve and try to get there.